I'm David Mason, the Director of Public Health for the town of Sandwich, and we're doing second wave PSA number 11. As we start today's PSA, it should be noted today is the anniversary of the first case that arrived in the United States as we address the COVID situation, and we'll start with today's numbers with Chief Burke.
All right, good morning, Dave. Numbers are a little bit skewed. We've been trying to, there's been so many cases. We have at least 120 active cases at the moment. Put it in perspective, we've had 184 cases over the last 14 days. There is some trending that it's going down slightly over the last 4 or 5 days. We're going to watch that closely. Hospitalizations are pretty much where they've been, 56 hospitalized between Cape Cod and Falmouth, with 16 in the intensive care unit.
Okay, and so the average daily rate, I'll just throw that in, is about 62 cases that we're averaging. And it is declining at this point. Keep in mind that those case counts include long-term care facilities. So those aren't people who are out in the general public. It's just our nursing homes in the town, which have seen a number of cases increase over the past couple of weeks, and they add to those counts for the town of Sandwich also. At this point, I know the largest things on people's mind is vaccinations and COVID vaccine. We're in phase 1, and Chief Burke will give us an update where we're at and working with Joanne Gake, a public health nurse, as far as vaccinating people.
All right, thanks, Dave. So on the vaccine front, we're still in phase 1. We handle all the Upper Cape first responder community, 300 plus. We did that about 2 weeks ago. Congregate care housing is the goal this week. We are hopeful to be done by Friday. There's roughly 27 congregate care housing facilities in town, believe it or not. Some of those are taken care of by the federal pharmacy program, which is good, and they've been vaccinated already. And we're working through Sandwich Housing Authority, Tom's Way, and other congregate care facilities. And like I said, we're hoping to be done by Friday, which will enable us to move on to the next grouping.
Okay, so just to point out too, so the reason that congregate care is higher on the priority is what's been observed with COVID since last March when we had the shutdown, is that the cases in denser populations escalate at a faster rate, and the intent of the vaccination in those care units is to knock those numbers down. So to get ahead of that, that's why congregate housing is occurring and some other facilities in town at this point. I know that planning is going underway. Our age group 65 or older. We're getting the calls. We understand your desire and your anxiousness to get a shot. We feel that too, and we're working with the state to identify vaccine and just how we'll break that down. How are we breaking down our groups?
Yep, so we'll probably start with 85 and older is what we're looking at right now, and and we'll go in 10-year increments, then we'll go 75 and older, and then 65 and older to try to get that population taken care of. We're aware of a couple things. We've trained the library staff, as we've said here before, over the summer to be able to handle the calls coming in to get people on the list. That has not gone live yet, but we're getting there. And that's going to be a huge advantage for us. You can talk to a live person. Some of the places are doing the website sign up for the vaccine, and eventually that's going to make it here. That's a difficult task for some of our folks that are 75 and older to navigate that. So that is why we're having the library staff kind of take over that initial piece. And again, talking to an actual human being and being able to be given some information we think is important, especially in this age demographic. So that is our goal. When you look at the numbers, it's roughly 6,000 people 65 and older. That may be on the low end, but that's what we're looking at to plan. Weather's a huge factor, right? We did the flu vaccine clinic in September. The weather was perfect. It allowed for the drive-through to occur. We have to do some additional planning for that. We did first responders at the Human Services Building. We'll probably still do some vaccinations there. It's a common area. People are familiar with it. But we are expanding our options for drive-through to push more people through sooner. So again, just to let the residents know, this is 24/7 planning on vaccine distribution. Now, we're still doing testing on the back end of this. We're kind of running two fronts at the moment. So we're still conducting aggressive testing, municipal employees and school employees, but we're also looking at now the vaccine delivery, which is an area I think we're comfortable in. It's just, do we get the supply that's needed in a timely manner, and we work through the phasing. And I think so far so good. That's what we have been doing in the last couple weeks.
Okay, because our biggest challenge is, because as far as it is, and people can see that on mass.gov, phase 2 is 75 up, as far as 75 plus has moved up in terms of the ranking, and then there's the 65 and older. The reason we've broken it down further is, one, because we know what those numbers are in those age groups, and two, we're not guaranteed an amount of vaccine. We may say, let's say we have 2,000, 85 and older. We're not guaranteed to receive 2,000 doses. So it's a game that's playing. It's a challenge that we're dealing with. We make application to the state for vaccine, and then they provide an amount. And it's how we distribute the amount received, because it may not meet the demand we have at the moment. So we're trying to break it down. So we're prioritizing that, and we just ask for some patience on that in terms of that plan. We're fully aware that of the desire of many people, but it's just, again, we have some challenges between the state at this point. The challenge is not our distribution.
Correct.
We have that nailed down, and we know how we can do that. It's the receipt of that, and just making sure that we're appropriately dispersing what we've received.
And I think you'll see a multi-pronged approach for vaccine distribution as we get into late phase 2 into phase 3. So the county announced this week of some regional vaccination sites that are going to be set up. The state will be putting a mass vaccination site here on the Cape. They did not do a stop the spread testing site, but they are doing a mass vaccination site. That is good news. So the more these options expand, the better. I think our primary goal of the group here is 65 plus. We need to get those folks vaccinated. We will do our best to handle it within town. If other options become available for those folks, we'll share that information. And basically, you put your name into all three and see which one comes up first. But I think we want to, and the other thing I want to emphasize is the fact that we have been aggressive in soliciting vaccine and submitting our plans. We're moving ahead. We get through a phase group, we're moving on to the next one. And, 2 weeks makes a big difference.
Yep.
In vaccine.
It does, because, and I know people like to plan, and I know the age group likes to plan and have a plan and a date and a time. We just cannot set that for you. You just need to, work with us in this situation in order to help you also. I mean, again, our intent is to get it to you as soon as possible.
Yep.
So just another note, as far as the variant, people have probably heard about the variant of COVID-19 out there, they're calling it B.1.1.7. They've identified it in Massachusetts. It's just a variant that is a little more infectious. So just, again, an emphasis on masking and social distancing. We still have to adhere to those rules. What that means relative to vaccine, researchers don't know as of yet, and more information will come on that. But again, just always be prepared and just protect your space. Is there anything else, Chief?
No, I think we're, again, I keep saying we're heading to the finish line as best we can here. We're into late January now. Projections are showing by April with an aggressive vaccine rollout and the continuing use of social distancing and hand washing that the numbers are going to be significantly reduced. So we just want to get there. I think, and again, to emphasize to the residents, we're working on this 7 days a week. And distribution is not the issue. I think we have multiple things that we can utilize, multiple town properties for distribution, whether it's the transfer station, whether it's the golf course. We've already talked these through. It's just a question of supply.
What's the best scenario and the supply?
And the supply, and those are the two things. So, I just, again, want to tell people we are working this constantly, and we want to make sure the process is as easy as possible to be able to get both shots. And remember, we have to work this twice. So whatever we do the first time, we have to repeat 28 days later. So again, that adds to the planning element.
Just a thought too, because people, watching, and you always hear, well, how will I be, how will I know? How will I be notified? And I think we've discussed that too a number of times, and We'll utilize a number of different sources to push that out. And as far as for that age group, really the Council on Aging call bank,
Yep.
I think will be a priority to start with, and then we'll utilize other social media surfaces at that point.
And I remember back in April, we talked about the call bank center for COA as kind of a dry run. Now it's gonna be very productive because now they've had some practice already. We're integrating the library staff into this. It's all about communication and information. The absence of both, people are going to fill the void. And what we're trying to do is, and we're working hard, we have phone numbers that we're going to utilize. We have technology and Surface Pros and equipment that's familiar for the library staff to be able to utilize. And again, I think compared to other communities, I think we're in good shape. And again, it comes down to those two things that we keep mentioning: supply and demand, and the groupings. And that the faster we can get through congregate, we've already done public safety, we can move on to the next grouping. So
we will leave it as that. You will hear from us. We will put information out there as soon as it's received, and again, we'll go through the groups of 85 plus, 75 plus, 65 plus, and we will address it as we receive the vaccine. I think that's it for this PSA.
Yep. Very
Right.
good.
So we'll leave it at that. Again, have some patience with us. We will get you there. Just practice the social distancing. It's working. If you're practicing it, it works. And we will see you next week. And again, be safe, be patient, and be respectful of everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you.